Nice. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. This is a one and only Integriti V24 webinar, and we have many people around the world that have joined us. So good morning, good evening, depending on what time zone you're in. Thank you very much. Just a couple of notes about this webinar. It is being recorded, so anyone that has registered using that link will automatically receive an email after this webinar with a download link to the recording. And of course, we can share the recording with anyone afterwards. Just let us know, get in touch. The chat is disabled in this webinar. If you have any questions, you're welcome, more than welcome, to post those questions. We expect to receive quite a number of questions, so we probably, time permitting, won't be able to answer all those questions. Our moderators will bubble up those questions for Steve and myself to answer at the end of this session. In terms of those questions as well, when you go to post those questions, your name will be shown by default. You can post anonymously if you want, though. You can just flag that option. If you don't want to reveal your name, that's fine. So this is the first release of Integriti this year. Really exciting. We typically release 2 to 3 major versions every year. So this is 24.0, which is the first major version. Other major versions would be like 24.1, 24.2, etc. And then we also have minor versions, which are your point releases in between those major versions. So yeah, really exciting. I think we're keen to get stuck into it. Integriti V24 is going to be released today, Thursday the 13th. So please check out the website afterwards. We will actually give you a little sneak preview in terms of where you can download V24 as well, and we'll go from there. This session as well is intended to be fairly high level. So there is an assumption that you have some sort of general understanding of InnoRange products, of Integriti. You're probably familiar with who we are, what we do, where we sit in the market. If you're new to InnoRange, if you're new to Integriti, firstly, thank you for joining the session and welcome. Please, strap in and enjoy the ride. And if you've got any questions, please, feel free to post those questions. So we didn't want to be too detailed, for the purposes of just trying to keep this short and snappy. So it is fairly high level. So for those that don't know me, I'm Rusty. I head up the sales team for InnoRange for ANZ, and I'm honoured to have with me my co-host, Mr. Steve Elon Musk Mitchell.
Thanks, Rusty. Steve Mitchell here. So I'm Director of Products here at InnoRange. I've been with the company for coming up to 18 years now. Spent most of my life here as a software engineer, working on the Integriti software in particular early on, and the Inception controller since then. In recent years, moved into this Director of Products role. So overseeing all of the things that we make, including this Integriti software.
Nice. You do look a bit like Elon. I don't think I've ever told you that before, but it's this whole crazy genius engineer type thing.
Sure.
Nice. Okay, cool. So what's new in Integriti V24? So high level summary, we're going to cover a lift integration update. We've added support for scanner integrations, which we'll cover. And then there are a multitude of other improvements. We have the 24 release notes, which cover all of the details. Clearly, we're not going to go through all of them. So what we have done is distill down 5 of the more significant other improvements, and we'll cover them. And then we'll jump into the live demo aspects of this webinar. So we have an update with the Milestone ACM integration. We've recently added support for sensors, and Triton being the first of those sensors, potentially many more to come. So we've added that integration support. And then finally, we have Sky Command. So this is especially exciting. I think it's fair to say that we're probably saving the best to last. When R&D, the boys and girls in R&D showed the sales team Integriti V24 as an alpha version, just as a bit of a pre-release test version, they showed it to us a couple of months ago. I said, wow, guys, girls, just stop right there. If you do nothing else except release Sky Command integration within the software, that's just blown it out of the ballpark. It's really just a kick-ass feature where a lot of customers have been asking for it. So super excited to give you a live demo of that. So let's hook into it.
Great. So first cab off the rank is some significant enhancements to our lift integrations. So as many of you know, we offer quite a wide variety of integrations to our Integriti platform, lift integrations being one of them. So this is an enhancement to our software-based integrations that hook straight into our Integriti software. So in particular, the Kone and the Schindler lift integrations. There's been a couple of improvements. The first one being we've simplified the configuration in a lot of ways. Some of that is some back-end improvements to make the initial configuration simpler, a lot less custom fields, things like that. But for the customers side of things, we've simplified how you assign things like home floors and those sort of entities to users. So before you would have to pick from a drop-down box and it was quite manual. Now you can actually pick a real lift floor from an entity selection dialog. So an end customer's perception of this is much simpler. But in addition, and these apply to Kone only because we're able to get a lot more state and status from Kone, we are actually adding like proper support for the lift floors and lift cars. They're being represented as real entities in our system. So one of the things that allows is for CCTV cameras and other integrations to be associated with those entities. It then flows through into a multitude of different benefits. So the primary being that lift floors and lift cars are now linked into review events and review history. That means that from an event that occurred in the past, you can right-click that event and show the associated footage with that lift car or the lift floor that somebody accessed or the event's associated with. You can then feed that into user access history reports. So you can see which doors somebody accessed, which areas they controlled, now which lift cars they went into, which floors they selected, all of that stuff. So a much more comprehensive history report for where users have access to your building. And it then flows through to everything else that's within our Integriti platform. So as you know, everything is tightly hooked in and is very flexible. So these events and this additional information can be used to trigger scheduled tasks, trigger automation, raise alerts, pop up schematic maps, move PTZ preset cameras, all of the fun stuff that you can do with Integriti once these powerful integrations are brought together. So at the moment, this is for the Kone Access 500 integration that we already have. It does require some minor configuration changes that will be possible if you contact our tech support team. If you've got an existing integration, any new ones will obviously get these benefits by default. But as a bit of a sneak preview as well, we are in active works to develop the Kone Access 1000 lift integration. So their new generation of lift solutions. So we're going through the final stages of development and testing for that at the moment. We're hoping to then have that go through Kone's acceptance testing and be released in the next couple of months. So hopefully Q3.
Nice.
Our second integration foundation piece is scanner integrations. So these are related to scanning of user ID documents, so passports, driver's licenses, things like that. This integration in particular was added for our Middle East markets where this is a lot more common, where essentially as visitors arrive at a building, at the desk at the front in the lobby, they're often signing in with some identification. So they'll hand over a passport or a driver's license, and the user will use that information to fill in the visitor's details. By supporting a scanner, it means that that ID can be placed onto the machine and all of the key information can be read off that automatically. So with this integration, it allows the fields that it can detect to be mapped to fields within Integriti, so the users. It means we can pull in their first name, their last name, their license expiry, date of birth, whatever information that you feel is important to capture into our users. And in particular, it can also bring in photos. So it allows a much more streamlined onboarding process or enrollment process for users or visitors as they attend the systems. The first product that we have is the Samsatech scanner. I'm not sure as far as its availability worldwide, but as this is a foundation piece for our scanners. So it means that if there are other scanners or other solutions that you want to incorporate this solution into, feel free to reach out to InArrange and we can look at incorporating that as a future integration.
Nice. Okay, moving on to the other component now, we're going to cover just a handful of other key improvements with V24. So the first thing that you're looking at here is multi-select entity lists. So since day one of Integriti, we have supported multi-select edit. That is to say that you could select any number of entities of the same type, whether that's users or permission groups or time periods or essentially anything, and you can select any number of them, right-click, edit, and it presents like an aggregation view, and you can perform one-click action, so to speak, to invoke a whole range of configuration options and push them down without having to go through every single one individually. Now we have expanded on that functionality by including this in door lists and area lists. So as you can see in this screenshot here, I've gone ahead and just highlighted my 5 door lists that I have in my system. 5 door lists is pretty minimal. In reality, this is just a demo system, of course, but in reality, most decent sized installations, if I can say that, would probably have 20 door lists or 50 door lists, something like that, right through to enterprise systems where they have literally hundreds of door lists. So what I'm about to explain to you becomes even more significant as the system scales up. So what I've done here is I've selected those door lists, you can see, and then I've right-clicked and selected edit, and it's presenting this other dialog pop-up box, which is showing me that I'm editing 5 door lists. 6 doors in total are in that door list, and it's presenting this nice little count. So it's a summary count for me, so I can see what doors and how many times those doors appear in those door lists. I've got that little red X there, so if I want to remove a door from all of these door lists, or the ones that I've highlighted or selected, then I can just hit that, and that door will be stripped out, so to speak, from all of those selected door lists. So this is especially helpful in terms of driving administration and efficiency. You have many scenarios where you might need to quickly remove a door from a door list. Perhaps there's some renovations going on with the building and you need to strip that out, or whether there's some sort of security issue and you just need to quickly ensure that the server room door has been taken out of all the door lists, for example. So it's all about streamlining the administration. The next thing that we've added is some improvements to the web interface. So we've added timed unlock functionality to the web interface. And then under the hood, there is a whole range of performance and operational improvements, including the ability to auto log out. A lot of operators using the web interface tend to just leave the web interface open, and that can, for hours on end, even if they're not using it, that can obviously present a security risk. So the auto log out feature is just a nice little, nice to have. In Integriti version 23, we added this new feature called system warnings. We've obviously expanded on that functionality in version 24. So we've added suppressed by and suppression notes. So the suppressed by is the name of the operator that was logged in the software at the time, and the notes, just whatever the operator wants to type in. I won't cover system warnings too much, but essentially it's an internal engine within the Integriti system that monitors a multitude of metrics and criteria to monitor the health of the system in a variety of different ways, both from cybersecurity through just to performance and operational capacity. Going forward, of course, we'll continue to add some more improvements to system warnings.
Great. Another improvement is the addition of a user last access field to our user lists. So within the software, when you're viewing the full list of users, there'll be a new field available which shows when the user last accessed something within the system, as in a door or something like that. So using a card or a PIN, it'll show when they were last interacting with the system. This is a standard column that's available, so it can be sorted on, it can be filtered on, can be reported on, and it provides a really quick and easy way to find out how frequently or when the last time somebody accessed the system, but also the people who are no longer interacting with the system. The people who haven't really interacted with the system for a long time, they can be easily found out now without needing to run lengthy reports or those sort of advanced features. This is now available at your fingertips.
Cool. And the final one is this new feature which we've added, which is integration trigger. So for anyone that has ever set up scheduled tasks or alert definitions in the past and they have used like review filtering, they would know and they would appreciate that that can be particularly cumbersome in some cases, and it can be time consuming. And if not set up correctly, it can also be quite taxing on the server if there are sort of this carte blanche approach to set up review filtering, which is just matching on text. That puts a lot of load on the server where it has to process every review event and every message that comes in, regardless of whether it's relevant or not. And so we've added this new trigger type, which is like a high-level filter, so to speak. So anytime you have some events or alarms coming from an integration, in this particular case, you can see I've actually specified Milestone VMS as a specific device that I'm monitoring, then that filters out the rest of the noise. And then you don't have to create these elaborate review filters to drill down and look for specific events. And then you can just use those check boxes to further hone or cherry pick what type of event or message that you want to select. So in the case of Milestone, I might be interested in looking at motion events from CCTV cameras. So I could just go ahead and expand out CCTV integration and then select motion alerts, etc. Really straightforward, simple to set up, makes it a lot easier for troubleshooting and service work going forward. Okay, we're going to jump into the live aspects of this webinar now. We're going to start off with Milestone ACM. Before we show you the Milestone ACM, I just need to touch on, I guess, the foundational aspects of the Milestone integration. So we have two types of integrations with Milestone. The first one is what we call our CCTV or traditional CCTV integration or VMS integration. And this is essentially where Integriti is the master or the main front-end system from a operational security perspective. And so here you can see a little screenshot where we have the Gatekeeper software, which is the Integriti command and control type application. And we have our schematic maps, we have our icons on those maps. And this is where we have Milestone cameras on our maps. And the whole idea is that the security team and facilities team are predominantly using the Integriti software to manage their security operations, alarms, cameras, etc. Then we also have ACM integration, which is Access Control Manager. This flips it on its head. So this is now the other way around. So instead of having Milestone cameras on Integriti maps, we have Integriti doors on Milestone maps. And so this is a little screenshot from the Milestone software showing Integriti doors on their maps. And there's no right or wrong necessarily. It really comes down to the end user and what drives them in terms of their security operation. Are they more VMS focused? It could be a site that has a lot of cameras and not much in the way of access control doors or intruder alarms, and so they're more video surveillance driven, or it could be the other way around. So anyway, we support both integrations. We've supported both integrations for a long time. We keep updating these integrations. They get better and better. And so this is the next aspect. So Steve, I'll hand over to you if you want to give a little update.
Yep, no worries. So the main improvement that we're talking about for this integration is we're sending more status information from Integriti through to the Milestone ACM platform. So I'll just jump out of this presentation and we'll go to the actual clients. So what we can see here is on the left half is the standard Milestone XProtect Smart client. So it's got a map that's all set up with a bunch of the Integriti doors, areas, etc. that are all there ready to go. And on the right-hand side is obviously our system designer. So we've got one of the doors set up, ready to go. It's all linked across. Basically, the main improvements are that we're sending more detailed status information now for our entities. So for doors, we used to only be able to send locked and unlocked states, and that was it. Whereas now we can send the full plethora of status, like if it's opened or closed, if it's held open too long, etc. So we'll run through a bit of just a practical demo with this. We've got our demo boards behind us that Rusty will play around with. So we'll start with just unlocking the door for 5 seconds. This is our warehouse door, and you can see that in the maps on the XProtect side, it opens up straight away. So if I unlock that again, Rusty can open the door this time. That comes through, and we can see now that the door's opened, unlocked. When the door locks, remains open, and then after a period of time, I think it's 5 to 10 seconds, it'll start its held open too long feedback. So you may be able to hear that buzzer in the background. Obviously the status in Integriti is updated, and we're seeing that on the maps. So this is a big setup where the maps on the Milestone side, that's what they're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. And the Integriti is forming a bit more of the arms and legs in the background for the security and the access control setup. Like if Rusty unlocks the door or opens the door once more, we can see that if the door has been forced open, that flows through to the Milestone system as well. So it means that if an operator is using the Milestone interface as their primary interaction, they're preferring the VMS stuff and then bringing in our stuff for the status and control, you're getting a lot more of a feature-rich experience now.
And what's interesting as well is the speed in which that is broadcast and that state is updated to Milestone. I mean, that was probably less than a second of that event occurring in Integriti, and we're pushing that to Milestone. Milestone is visualizing that through their mapping interface. So super responsive, quick integration.
Exactly. So I'll give you a bit of a run through of our other new integration platform. So we talked about scanners before. This is a new different type of integration that we've added. So sensors are now able to be incorporated into Integriti with the version 24 release. These are fully fledged entities in our system, but we can have a lot of rich state associated with them. So they're not like a motion sensor, which is in alarm or tamper or secure, and that's it. These can have a lot more like building information that can be brought into the system. So our first integration that we have for this platform are the Triton sensors. So if you haven't seen these before, these are now available for sale at Wesco Australia and New Zealand, so the security branches in the ANZ region. These are vape sensors. So if I bring across the Triton Cloud interface that we've got, this is how the sensors that are associated with your system would be managed. We've only got the one here at the moment, but we can dig into that. These things detect quite a few things. So at a high level, it obviously detects vaping. This is a big problem at the moment, and there's a big focus on that worldwide, especially around students, vaping, etc. So a very common scenario is to place these devices into the bathrooms at schools, etc., so that you can detect, or at behind buildings and things, so you can try and detect when students are vaping. It also detects smoking and other particulates, so it can raise alarms on that. But it can also be detecting humidity, temperature, those sort of things. It can detect when the sensor has been masked. So if it's covered with something to prevent it from being able to detect the vape, it'll detect that instead and raise the alarm. But it can also have some noise detection. So it can detect certain keywords or things associated with bullying and aggression, all of those things as well. So it's a very non-invasive sensor that can just be mounted to the roof, and it can detect a wide variety of things. So it means that there's a lot of scenarios that can be achieved with this sensor in general. It's commonly been promoted for schools, but it can go into any scenarios where you want to enforce those sort of rules. So hotels, for example, you could place these in every hotel room, and that will actually detect if the guest is smoking or vaping in a non-smoking room, and then you can actually enforce those rules as well. There's quite a few different scenarios that this sensor comes into place. But this will be the first sensor of many. We were going to run through a quick demo on the Integriti side.
So what you're looking at here is the Integriti Gatekeeper software. This is that command and control application that I was referring to before. We have our schematic maps in the top left. We have some review, the event log down in the bottom corner. We have CCTV integration, and Steve's just enabling the enabling the alert, so we can actually show you what it looks like when an alert is generated. So in front of me here, I have a Triton sensor. It's just a PoE device, hence why it's connected. I'm going to trip the sensor just by flipping the thing upside down and triggering the tamper alarm. And all being well, that should come through in the next few seconds. There's obviously a variety of alarms. Now we didn't have, there we go. So you can see how Integriti is processing that alarm. Integriti performs a whole range of actions automatically, and it's context sensitive. It knows where the sensor is on our mapping interface. So we have placed that icon, that sensor on our map, and automatically Integriti zooms in and goes, bang, that's where it is. Goes in, you can't miss it. It's big flashing red light. It changed the CCTV footage. So previously it was just the CCTV was overlooking the street. Now it's actually pulled up the server room where the sensor is located, so to speak. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner, we can see the alarm. It's a priority 4 alarm, and it's got the details. there's a whole, topic, another whole conversation we could talk about in terms of alarm management, but that's just kind of just to whet your appetite. The power of Integriti is in its ability to automate these events and alarms and then enunciate them further. We can do push notifications and SMS and email, and the list just goes on and on.
That's right. So we'll be adding more sensors to the lineup in the coming months, in the coming years. There's a lot more data that can be captured around a building, and that can then be incorporated into this. These provide simple scenarios like the Triton sensor, being able to detect vaping in a bathroom, and then you show the footage outside the bathroom door, and you'd be able to marry up, who was in the bathroom at the time with the alarms that occurred, or noise and aggression sensors, those sort of things as well. So you can flow that into a situational awareness interface that the guards are monitoring a system. It's just one more thing that the guards can be monitoring really, really easily. And with the PoE deployment, it makes it really simple to set up and incorporate into a solution.
Yep, exactly. Excellent. Well, that's the Triton sensor. The next topic of discussion, which is, shall I say, my favorite, is the Sky Command support. So firstly, just to explain what Sky Command is, if people are not familiar with it, Sky Command is it is an app and it is a web interface, but predominantly most people use it through the app. It empowers end users to remotely monitor and control their system. So they can unlock doors, they can arm and disarm areas, they can view the status of inputs, they can trigger automation, they can receive push notifications, etc. For many years, we have supported Sky Command through Inception and through the multipath T4000 range, which subsequently connected to Integriti. But the way that you got Sky Command support with Integriti in the past, you were forced to use a T4000, and so that was a per panel per T4000 type arrangement. So it was a one-to-one type setup. So now we have expanded that functionality, and we support multi-site architecture by connecting directly to the Integriti server. So in this little simplified diagram, you can see I've got any number of sites all connected to the Integriti server, Integriti being a global system where you can have all of these systems connected and presented as one view, and you can program your users globally and set up your permissions, etc. The Integriti server is then connected to the Sky Command cloud, which is our cloud, and the Sky Command app is obviously connected to that cloud as well. It's important to note that the Integriti server doesn't require any port forwarding. It's an outbound connection from the Integriti server to the cloud. That's the simplicity of it. And it's really like the power is in the aggregation. So no longer do you need to set up like a one-to-one relationship per site. It's done at the Integriti server level. The nice thing as well is you don't need to log into the Sky Command server and set up all your user permissions separately beyond the Integriti server. When a user logs into the Sky Command app, they are logging in as a user of Integriti, so to speak. So all of the permissions that they have, what doors they can see, what sites they can see, the areas, etc., that's all governed by Integriti. So nothing changes from that perspective. We're excited to be announcing new plans as well for Integriti. So essentially we've got 4 plans. They all allow app control or remote connectivity, so you can perform those, door unlock, area arm, disarm, etc. And then you can see the other metrics in terms of Sky Command app users and push notifications per month. It's important to note that the Sky Command app users are different to Integriti users in terms of the count. So what I mean by that is you could have an Integriti system that might have 5,000 users, for example, but you may only need 15 Sky Command app users because 15 people are the likes of, facility managers, security personnel, administration staff, etc. And only a much smaller subset typically need access to Sky Command. So you choose the plan that's appropriate and go from there. So there is no free app control with Integriti in terms of any plan, but that is still offered with the T4000 and Inception, just to make that point clear. If you want push notifications with the T4000 and Inception, that is a paid for plan. If customers just want remote connectivity and control, the T4000 and Inception have those free plans, but not with Integriti, if that makes sense.
So these subscriptions, they're set up on our SkyCommand cloud interface, so the technician-focused administrative portal. So part of that process is where you set up the subscriptions you want to use, and then that can be on-billed to your customer as part of your ongoing maintenance plans and other agreements that you have with your customers. So it's just an additional service that you can then provide as a feature to your customer.
And to show you what that looks like, I've just got a little screen recording here, a little video, where I'm logging into the SkyCommand app. I'm choosing the topmost site, which is our demo room Integriti server. By default, it's then loading the favorites tab, and it's going to pull down a couple of favorites, which is 2 of my doors, and you'll see the state of those doors is accurately represented, so you can see they're closed. Then I've clicked on the home tab, and down the bottom, it's showing me areas. I'm now navigating across to the other sub tab, which is doors. So it's showing me all the doors. I'm going through this fairly quickly, of course. I'm expanding out the warehouse door, and I'm going to select grant access. And so that unlocks the door. You can see the other commands are available. And then I'm going to generate a push notification, a duress alert, and you'll see that actually pop up.
New security alarm detected.
Perfect. So that's come through now as a duress alert. And you'll see that there is a notification badge there waiting to be acknowledged. I click on that, I move away, and that clears it. So it all comes through. And I can actually show you that right now as well. So in terms of the push notifications, let me pull up Integriti software. I'll expand this out a little bit further. Do a quick search for good old Rusty. Okay, so the way it works is when you right-click a user and send a message, we've supported email and SMS notifications since day one, but now with SkyCommand support, a new option is presented, which is the SkyCommand push notification service. So I can select that, and let's just type in a message, and let's just say, reminder, fire alarm test in 5 mins. And it might be a little bit difficult for you to see my screen in terms of my phone, but I'm just going to send that now. And it should come through as a push notification. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to see just the way the Teams is blocking that out, but that push notification came through within probably about 5 seconds. This can be, so essentially what I'm saying is the push notification service uses the same infrastructure and configuration options that you would be familiar with when you set up your email and SMS notification services. So all of the functionality in terms of mass notifications, you can select, I'm just selecting, 10 or 15 users here, and I can right click and send a message. I could choose SkyCommand if they have that set up on their system, and that selected all of those recipients. So this is just me triggering or manually typing in messages, but of course this can be done all automatically, as you saw in that video before with the duress alert.
So I might just reiterate some of the points Rusty's made, because this is a really powerful solution for you and your customers. So what it means from a SkyCommand perspective is that your users can log on to the SkyCommand app, and they'll see all of the systems and all of the sites that they are associated with. Now, that could be an Integriti system. If you've got an Integriti system spanning tens or hundreds of sites around the country, they can all appear as individual sites that they can pick which ones they want to control. But it could also be the Inception system that they have at home, or the one that's at their gym or something like that. They can see all of the sites and systems that they're able to control. When they're picking their sites, they're able to see only the sites that they have permission to control. So this is all dynamically based on their users' settings within the Integriti system. So in this case, if there's 50 sites within an Integriti solution, but they only have permission to control some doors within and some areas within a couple of those sites, maybe they're a regional manager and can only deal with the sites that are located within Victoria, they'll only be able to see those sites. The ones that are in New South Wales, Queensland, or any other states are all automatically filtered out. So they get a very cut down view, and it's all dynamic. So one of the important things is that it's user-based, not operator-based. So it means there's no extra stuff that needs to be created. It's all dynamic based on what the user has. So in this case, Rusty has the manager permission group and access to a couple of doors. Whatever those permissions all sum up to, that's what he'll be able to see. And the only configuration that was needed was enabling a tick box within their settings to enable Sky Command user.
Nice.
That'll automatically link up the email address that this user has and automatically create the account if they don't have one. And then when they complete their Sky Command account creation, they'll receive an invitation email. The next time they log into the Sky Command app, they'll see the Knoxfield site or whatever sites they have access to. And if you want to remove permission, it's as simple as removing permissions from the user in Integriti, removing the Sky Command user abilities, cancelling or disabling the user, and that removes their abilities to control the Sky Command system. So automatic offboarding can also flow through. An Active Directory integration that cancels the user means they can no longer use their card, they can no longer use the Sky Command app. It all automatically happens.
Nice. And to show you what the back-end configuration looks like, not to go into all the details, but just to show you how it actually connects. So what you see here, I'm just going to integrations and then communication handlers. I've gone ahead and created a new communication handler that will appear once you upgrade to Integriti V24. The handler type is Sky Command, and there's not much you need to do. It automatically generates this unique code. You map it to a custom field, which is an email address. It will help prompt you to create that if you don't already have one. You copy that. Now let's open up the web browser. Where he is? There he is. Let's go to the Sky Command. So I've logged into the Sky Command backend portal as an installer or dealer. And all you need to do is click on Add Customer System, and you'll see that this new box now appears, Integriti. Click on this, type in the name of the site. Paste in that code that was generated, go through, choose the professional monitoring or the plan that is most appropriate based on the number of Sky Command app users and push notifications. And that's essentially it. You'll see some events come through in Integriti in the reviewer log to indicate that it's successfully running, it's synchronized, and you're good to go. There's no licenses that you need in the Integriti software beyond just the subscription plan, which anyone that's familiar with Sky Command would understand the subscription plan, so nothing else changes from that perspective. Okay, so we're wrapping up, we're getting near the end. The last thing I just wanted to touch on before we go into questions was we have 4 new detectors. So for anyone that hasn't received these notifications or been made aware of these InnoRange detectors, I just want to cover it briefly. So InnoRange has partnered with Optex. Optex, for anyone that doesn't know, is a global leader, one of the best in terms of, a manufacturing company and engineering company that make high quality professional and commercial range detectors. And so we've partnered with them in an ODM relationship, which I'll explain as I go through here. So we've got one in the professional range, which is really more about the value entry level detector. And then we have 3 in the commercial range, a single technology, a dual technology microwave and PIR, and a tri-tech PIR microwave and anti-masking detector for typically higher security environments. So I say ODM, which basically means that we have been working with Optex. This isn't just a rebranding. This isn't just a sticker change, like surface level change. This is actually engineering and code, and customization for InnoRange. And so this comes down to the PEU module. Essentially, this is a little device. It's kind of like the size of your fingernail or something like that. And it's a little device inside the PIR that comes pre-fitted from the factory with InnoRange end-of-line resistor values. And so what this means is it's a massive time saver and massive headache saver. When you're installing these detectors, you just run your 4-core, you've got your positive negative for your power, and then you have alarm and tamper. That's it. You don't have to wire in any resistors. It's done. This is super useful if you've got issues with, detectors that might be having issues with resistors from an ongoing service perspective, or, junior technicians that may not understand end-of-line resistors and how to connect them, etc. Really straightforward.
That's right. It's all about simplifying the installation process. You'll have seen that from InnoRange products over the years, and you'll see that going into the future. We want to simplify how these products get installed, speed up the process, make your lives easier. So even this subtle change, it can save, minutes, tens of minutes per detector, which when you're installing tens or hundreds of them on a site, that really adds up. Yep. So it means that all you need to do is fit off the wires directly into the detector's terminals and you're done. No need for soldering, resistors, all of these other things messed around. It's just fit the wires in and it's ready to go. So it seems subtle, but it is a huge time saving.
Yep. Okay, just some final notes and then we'll go into the questions section. Just want to touch on two things briefly. So we have the Integriti V24 release notes. As I said before, I'm not going to go into all the details because they are comprehensive, but just to skim over them, the first section is talking about Sky Command, and then we're talking about the lift integration improvements, as Steve touched on. Then the scanner integration, and it goes through the sensor integration support, like the Triton sensor, and then it just starts listing out a whole range of other key improvements. So please get a copy of those release notes, check them out. The next thing I want to show you is how to download V24 software. So on our new website, downloading is really straightforward. There's no login required. So all you need to do is go to the product section, software and licenses. It's very quick and snappy. Choose your Integriti edition, although from the perspective of the software download, it doesn't matter. You could choose any 4 of these because it's the same software. It's just licensed differently, so to speak. Choose, I know, professional, just for argument's sake. Go to the software and firmware tab, and then you would choose, looks like it's already been uploaded. So go ahead and start configuring that and setting it up if you like. So you've got software version 24, which you can just click that and that'll start downloading. We also have the release notes as well, which looks like they'll be uploaded shortly too.
System health-related features to improve issue identification.
Yeah, okay, I was wondering what that noise was. Okay, so that was just a bit of a preview about that. I think we'll move into the question time, unless Steve, you have any other final comments before we go into questions?
No, all good for me. Happy to move into Q&A time.
All right.
I think as Rusty mentioned at the start, feel free to ask any questions that you've got. I can see a bunch have already been filtered up through, so we can get into those.
So the first one, where can I download Integriti? I'm going through these questions in no particular order. I'm just scrolling through a list here. First one, where can I download Integriti V24? So I just showed that. That was convenient. The next one is the Sky Command going to supersede the Integriti app? Yes. And when you say Integriti app, I assume you're referring to Integriti Mobile. And so the short answer is yes. Integriti Mobile doesn't support push notifications and Sky Command does. I think that's quite a game changer when you compare the two different apps. End users want to be empowered. They want those notifications to come through. So yes, Sky Command is the app going forward.
We're also using this as a way to consolidate some of our apps together so that end users need to download fewer apps. So if they have other inner-range systems in their ecosystem, like I was mentioning, you could have an Inception at their home or holiday house, at their gym. You could have an Integriti managing the business they work at, etc. Then it means that they're only having to download one app to control everything.
Can you manage users from the Sky Command app? Do you want to answer that one, Steve?
Sure, it'll be fairly brief.
Yep.
No, not at this time. So any user administration, as far as like managing of users, adding of users, that's still done from the Integriti side of things. So either with the thick client or from the web client. The web client does make things a bit easier. It's very much focused on the user administration and the quick control and status views, accessing review, etc. So for an easier way to access it, the web client does make things a lot easier. But at the moment, no, there's no way to administer your users within the Sky Command app.
Next question is, do I need additional licensing on the Integriti side to allow sensor integration? The answer is yes. And we have introduced a new license, sensor integration license, pretty straightforward. And they come in packs of 10 based on the number of sensors that you want to integrate. When you set up that integration for the first time, not to go into too much detail here, but essentially under the integrations tab, let me just pull that down. It's already there. You've got this integrated sensor. And so this would be considered one device. And as you connect to that portal, Triton in this particular example, if you had 500 sensors, it would pull them down automatically and would populate 500 sensors in the Integriti application. It's not like you have to do this per sensor. It does that automatically. And then you would just need enough licenses to accommodate 500 sensors. Okay. Next question is, how do I enable the user last access field? I don't see it in the column chooser of any beta V24. Yeah, okay, cool. That's a really good question. So we talked about adding this new field, which is user last access. So let's go and show you what that looks like. So let me just clear this up a little bit. I'll just remove these columns just to get rid of a few things. So you can see this user last access, and I'll just further, oops, can't even spell my own name right. So you can see this user last access field. So on the 11th of the 6th, a couple of days ago, I last accessed one of those doors. So how you present that field, and obviously you can click on that and search for it and filter. If you right click on this column header and select column chooser, the user last access field doesn't actually appear in here by default because it's a state, it's a user state field. So what you need to do is actually go to system settings, go to configuration, extra columns. This is like a really powerful aspect of Integriti, where you can really customize the software on a per operator basis as you need to. I've already gone ahead and created it, but if I was just doing it for the first time, I would click add new. Target type would be user. The property would then be state, user state, and then user last accessed. And that's it. And you can change the name if you want to change the name, or just leave it user last access, and that's it. And that will appear.
So as you can see, this is a really powerful way of adding more information to the default views of like our entity lists. So you're able to add these columns for doors, for permission groups, for basically anything in the system. If there's extra information that can be pulled out.
Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead. Sorry if I sound a bit distant now. I'm just going to go ahead and badge my card on some other doors and show you how that updates in real time. So I'm now currently in the foyer. Now, we've got a read switch, I think. There we are. Yep, so that's updated to the 13th. Let's badge another door. This one. Did that come through? Offices.
Yep, that's updating the seconds.
Oh, excellent, cool. So you can see the status. You can search on that location as well. So this little cheeky little fella here is essentially like a live personnel tracking system. You can search for all your users. You can say, right, show me all the people that are currently. So in my user database, I've got just under 10,000 users. I can just say, show me all the people right now in the offices. And it searches as you type. You don't need to press enter, and it's filtered down from 10,000 records down to 2 in less than a second. So super quick. And you can see obviously when they last accessed that door. Okay, that was a long way of answering that question, but hopefully it just sort of rounded that off a little bit. Where is the web interface in Integriti? Okay, that's a good question. So firstly, let me show you this. So in the Integriti software, there are 4 different editions. You have Express, Professional, Business, and Corporate. I'll just make this a little bit bigger so everyone can see. So the first point that I'll make is that the web server is a feature that is only included in the business or corporate editions. So if you are running Professional or Express, you'll need to upgrade to that edition. But if you're running business or corporate, what you'd need to do is under the integrations tab, under communication handlers, you would then create a new communication handler. If I just type web, there we are, web interface. And this is essentially all you need to do. You would specify a port number of your choosing. You can have a custom prefix if you wanted to. There's a range of security options using HTTPS, etc. And that's essentially, and it even gives you a quick little hyperlink. So hopefully that answers the question. That's how you enable it. It's not enabled by default, I guess is the point I'm making.
And that then means the Integriti server is exposing the web interface. You can then log on with the browser, and then it's up to IT processes, IT configuration to allow access to that via remote desktops via VPN connections, etc. However you want to have your customers access access the web interface.
Yeah, cool. I think the final question that we'll take, and we'll just wrap it up then, is: are there any of these new features limited to certain editions of Integrity? Okay. Do you want to?
Yeah. So the scanner is probably the first one that's that we went through that's a bit limited. That is included for by default with Business Edition. So that actually comes as an included feature with Business. So any scanner integrations that we add, they'll be included in that business level integration. The remainder are all filling in existing solutions. So CCTV obviously comes in at the business level or above. So any CCTV hooks that we've talked about go in there. Lift integrations, I believe, come through with professional. You just need the unlock license for that. Scanners are at the professional level. Sorry, sensors are at the professional level. We talked just before about there being individual sensor licenses coming in packs of 10. They'll be available from Wesco as purchasable licenses, just like doors. That's all included at the professional level as well. Milestone ACM.
That's always been a separate license. Milestone ACM is different to CCTV integration. Milestone ACM, where Milestone's the master, that's a ACM integration license, and that's just a once-off activation license from Integrity's perspective, but nothing's changed. So to answer that question specifically, the question is about these new features and if they've changed in comparison to pre-version 24. And short answer is no, apart from the addition of the sensor licenses and Steve's point about the scanner integration being included within business. Okay, actually a couple more questions have just popped through. Maybe we'll just quickly answer them. Is version 24 a simple install over upgrade from previous versions? If so, is there any prerequisites? Yeah, short answer is yes. All of our installations are generally a simple over-the-top installation. You shouldn't need to step install. You shouldn't need to step up and go, like, let's say you're upgrading from version 21 to version 24. You shouldn't need to go to 22 to 23 to 24. I say shouldn't because there are some instances, if you're running like a really old version of Integrity, perhaps like 16 or 17, and it went from 16 or 17 to 24, that's a big step change. That's a massive jump. So in that case, please contact our support team and they can provide further advice about that. But generally speaking, it's a simple over-the-top installation. You don't need to uninstall Integrity first. You just go next through the installer. Downtime is usually, sub 5 minutes. Next question is, will Sky Command run on Android tablets? That's yes, I believe. I don't think there's any issues.
There shouldn't be anything holding that back.
Yep.
In addition, for those unfamiliar with Sky Command, definitely reach out to Wesco or the InnoRange BDMs for more information about it. But it also supports things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay and things like that as well. So there's a lot more features behind the scenes for the Sky Command platform. So yes, it can run on tablets. It does require a user account with our Sky Command platform, like an InnoRange account. But yeah, that can seamlessly flow through to controlling with voice commands on your phone and Android and Apple CarPlay features as well. So definitely quite a few different features and functionality in addition to running on a tablet interface.
Excellent. Okay, last question. I said that like 3 questions ago, but last question. If the Sky Command app is going to replace the Integrity mobile app, what if the site has no server on site? Okay, good question. So firstly, we're not removing Integrity mobile from the app store, so to speak. Okay, it's fair point to say that we're not actively developing Integrity mobile any longer. It's not like it's going to just continue to gain new features, but we're not removing it. So if the customer's happy using Integrity mobile and it does what they want, I use it at home as well, then continue just using it, no big deal. If they do want to upgrade to Sky Command, however, they will need to install a T4000 if the site doesn't already have it. A lot of customers already have T4000s with Integrity because it's kind of just a natural fit. But if they don't have it, they'll need to install a T4000. because again, we're not talking about Integriti server. We're saying the server doesn't exist on site. There is no server. So we're talking about the hardware panel here. So it has to install a T4000. Keep in mind, if you're installing a T4000, there is that free plan for remote control. If they don't want push notifications, but they want Sky Command, there is that free option just for remote app control. So hopefully that answers the question.
It's also worth mentioning that for a site that's running an Integriti controller, but there's no head-end software to administer users and perform those tasks on a day-to-day basis, it may be a preference to upgrade that site to an Inception controller as well. So all of the expansion modules that run on an Integriti run on an Inception controller as well. So it could be a simple case of replacing the controller, and that customer and remote maintenance, etc., all of those features are enhanced from that perspective. So Inception doesn't need software to manage it. It comes along with all of this extra functionality in Sky Command, and there is a remote accessible web interface that's really simple to use. So there are a lot of benefits in upgrading that site potentially to the Inception controller if they are in that state where there's a controller running the intruder access, there is no software installed on site, so there is no day-to-day maintenance ability for the customer, then yeah, this is another tool or another route that they could use.
Yeah, a few different options. Okay, I think we'll wrap it up. What you can see on your screen in front of you is just a little screenshot in terms of the Contact Us section from our website. So please feel free to jump on our website, choose the region, Australia, New Zealand, or USA, or Middle East, whatever. When you click on those various different tabs, it will present the Contact Us options, email address, phone number. Please reach out. More than happy to field any more questions that you have. But yeah, thank you again. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for your support. And exciting times ahead for us.
Indeed.
Excellent.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.